Hello and welcome to the One People Show.
Morning, everyone. Afternoon, evening, whichever it is for you. Welcome to the One People Show for this week. Today is, for me at least, Tuesday, January 10.
And it is Monday, January the 9th, for everyone not in Oz or New Zealand or down that way.
Down that way.
Down that way. Down that way. Over that way. Yeah.
Okay.
The Queen is dead again. The Queen apparently has died yet again.
She's on the merry-go-round. So, of what? All I saw was that they withdrew the death notice again.
Yeah. And it was, now, there is a screenshot going around, and it looks pretty fucking official from the royal website. That stuff can be faked. I mean, let's face it, we all know that this is the land of, wishful thinking. Yeah, wishful thinking, everyone. So is the Queen dead? I suspect that she actually is dead. I kind of suspect that she must be. I mean, they've now played this fake death now twice in what? Less than a month? Twice in like 2 weeks now?
The Queen who did the speech this year, I mean, one, you never know when those things are actually recorded.
No, exactly.
But two, I never saw it.
Nope.
Did it actually look like her? I mean, because I heard a few comments in regards to that didn't look like the real deal. Weekend at Queenie's. Oh, that's
Weekend at Queenie's. Nice.
Funny.
And that was her sleepwalking. That was last week's big one. She was out there strolling the gardens at 3 o'clock in the morning, and one of the guardsmen almost shot her. Ma'am, I almost shot you, because that's what your guard says to the Queen, right? Which was a really, really hysterical article, actually, because it kind of ran through all the news, including like RT, and it was like, oh, here's a nice little fluff piece to try and instill to the public that she's still alive. Look, here's this cute little anecdotal story about the Queen out wandering the garden at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you all still think she's alive. And, of course, the fact that they're terribly understaffed in the guards.
Oh, everyone's in fine form in the chat room already.
Oh, yeah, they're off.
You probably said, fuck,
guys are fucking right.
Oh, that's funny. Target practice.
Ah.
Maybe they just let clones out and that's what they use for target.
These are the clones.
Release the clones.
Ah, yes. Well, funnily enough, back in, it would have been in a 97, I was in Buckingham Palace. I went through because two of my friends, one of them was a junior butler and the other one was chief of the Queen's livery. And they were both serious motorcycle freaks, and we used to all go like screaming around. Look, my internet connection's unstable. We used to all go screaming around like London on motorcycles. And one day we had to go pick up one of the guys, and they joked saying that he was like captain of the Queen's livery. And I was like, no. Next thing you know, we're pulling into Buckingham Palace and getting waved right through the gate. There was about 15 of us all on motorcycles. Went and picked him up, and yeah, that was as close as I've been to Buckingham Palace. There you go.
Well, that's a hell of a lot closer than me. So, you want to start with this rabbit hole you've been down there?
Is there anything else we need to cover first? Because once I get started, there's a good chance I'm not going to shut up. Just warning y'all. Just warning y'all.
No,
Like I've already, just so you know, the article that's going to go with this, you're going to need me to send you the HTML because I've already got that much written, that many inserts, that many links, that many videos, that many freaking screenshots. It's that bad.
Oh,
last year or so.
You froze. What?
About Antarctica.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite.
Again. And the Nazis.
Okay, so those of you who have only been watching this show for, say, less than 12 months.
Since the summer. Since 6 months ago.
Dee and I, and they're not public. Some of them, 2 of them, I think, are not public. Dee and I did a couple of shows. We were on a research track for a couple of months, all around World War II, Hitler, Antarctica, all of that.
Stalin,
yeah, a lot of the stuff that went on around World War II, and questioning all of it. And 2 of the shows we did were sort of like so controversial, and we asked some. We questioned everything. Let's just put it that way. That we were kind of concerned.
Maybe we should
publish these, so they're not public. But just sort of suffice it.
But if you were in the chat room, you got to watch those shows.
Yeah. If you were there live, you were there, and suffice it to say, there wasn't a stone left unturned, I don't think, in terms of questioning the narrative, questioning the claims, we questioned everything.
Well, and I think that maybe we should do another show that'll be like a standalone where we actually kind of run through some of that shit again. Because some of the shit we came up with, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't even rally it all together, but there's so much that we put together in that 3-week period where we were hardcore on that I think this is the moment. I think this is the time now that we should be putting this information out.
One of the things...
Just a year too soon, that's all.
I don't know whether this part is relevant to what you're about to say, because I have no idea what you're about to say, really. But one of the big things for me, out of all of that research, was the question of why Hitler and the Nazis have been so demonized. To the point, I mean, we've been allowed to forget all of the other despots and ridiculous
mass
murderers who have, killed more people legitimately and officially than the controversial questioned numbers around World War II. And yet, even still to this day, there are new laws being brought in to make it illegal to question, illegal to make claims counter to. I mean, there's nothing behind it. To question anything about the Holocaust is illegal. It's
unquestionable and illegal. Laws have been passed, like in Netherlands and I think Belgium and I think France. It's illegal to publicly question the narrative.
And one of the things we sort of played with was if there really was an exodus to southern regions, Argentina and Antarctica and others, did they know of, at some point, the possibility of them returning and finishing the job? And the job itself was we questioned that too. And is that why?
Who are they really against?
Yeah. Is that why the demonization, so that if they ever come back, we will all just freak out and go, oh my God, Nazis, and just, fight them off when they might actually be there to do something else. So there's that. Now, is that relevant to what you're about to say?
It is, but I want to come at it from the Antarctica bit. Because, okay, we keep talking about Antarctica, and it keeps coming up, and it keeps coming up, and it keeps coming up. So like this week, 2 days ago, I ran through the news and did a search, a news keyword search on Antarctica, and came up with like, I don't know, 40 articles that had been released since January 1st of this year about Antarctica.
How many?
Now, 40 at least that were new. Now, a lot of them that were like copies. So like domed structure found in Antarctica. Ran through all the British media covered it. There was a bunch of European media covered it in North America, etc. So that was the one big story. The other big story was a piece of the Antarctica shelf is about to fall off. It's just going to fall off. Boom. Fall into the ocean. God knows what. Oh, which would probably cause a tsunami, Lise. Is that our tsunami little play out that we've talked about? Which I'm not even going to get into that for the moment. But beyond those two main premise stories, there was stories about, you know, how I survived for 30 hours in Antarctica without any electricity. And here's a quaint little story about some researchers doing stuff on Antarctic penguins. And it was an effort has been made, especially over the last, let's say 3-4 months, to keep Antarctica prime, like right smack in the focus of the public. Now, when we talked about all the Nazi stuff, and we talked about the Nazis having fled, you know, Hitler did not die, Eva Braun did not die, they fled Germany, they got to Argentina, or from there went to Antarctica. Now, we had a lot of stuff, and you get a lot of people who come up. Now, interesting little aside there is, since that show, Lise, the FBI has released the files to show that they tracked Hitler to fucking Argentina. So we already know for sure that the narrative, the official story, is fucking bullshit.
Well, they've also never been able to, I mean, one of the things that you and I kind of played with was, we know that there were like nearly 100 submarines that were never recovered, German submarines, thousands of the German military.
Scientists.
And the Project Paperclip, all of those that were brought over to Australia and the US predominantly for Paperclip were pretty much the dregs.
They were the second stringers.
But not only that, they would have been the ones that we believe Hitler was, trying to clean out his government, clean out his, of what he considered the infiltrating cabal-connected individuals. So they would have been those, the ones who had already sold him out, sold Germany out, and had made deals with the US predominantly. So I don't think the US and Australia and everybody else got the best of the best. But I think we got the ones that were already sellouts, or the dregs.
Well, I watched a video today, and that's one of the things I want to really get into. But I watched a video today. It's a 44-minute video. I've already embedded it in the article that's going to go with our show today, so you can watch it. And it's Russian with English subtitles. And they talked about the fact that basically the US was shocked to hell when all these scientists that they wanted to find never showed up. They never found them. They weren't listed as dead. They were missing. And like thousands of engineers, scientists, doctors, you name it, just vanished somehow.
Comment in the chat room, we got the paperclip and not the staplers.
You got the paperclip, not the stapler. They needed the stapler. They got stuck with the paperclip. So when we had these conversations, like I said, they were over a year ago, right? Some of these conversations started over a year ago. You get a lot of flash on it, right? And you had people who were like, and even in UnFuckers, we have our naysayers and our devil's advocate people who are always like, oh, well, that's not what it was. And oh, that's not what it is. And one of the things that comes off is the whole thing about the Nazis going to Antarctica. Oh, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, yeah, no, that's just, you know, there's no proof. There's, you know, it was even amongst people who I would consider to be pretty awake. The thought of the Nazis going to Antarctica was kind of like so far-fetched, so out there. You might as well have been talking about blue aliens came and picked them up and took them to Jupiter. Really? Well, guess what? Here's the rabbit hole I fucking went down today is the fact that, first of all, the Russian media has been reporting on all this shit. And I don't mean, you know, a Russian website. I'm talking Russian mainstream media, the equivalent of Russia's BBC. Now, that's the one video I'm going to post today with this video. It's about as mainstream across the board, government, Russian government certified type thing, piece of information. And when you watch this video and see what they discuss, first of all, the absolute proof that they have that the Nazis not only went to Antarctica, that they sent everything down there, artifacts, that starting in 1938, they were running supply ships from Germany to Antarctica regularly with things like heavy equipment, mining equipment, trains. They took trains to Antarctica, okay? And you start going through and you start reading. And as I was watching, it took me probably 6-7 hours to watch the video, because as I'm going through the video, as it comes up to stuff, I'm then researching off of different pieces to pull out all these little pieces. And what kickstarted me looking into this was someone posted an article in UnFuckers, and it is an article all about Antarctica, going from all the recent shit, Buzz Aldrin, John Kerry, all the people who've been there, right back to all of Admiral Byrd, the whole kit and caboodle. It's a long article. Again, I've posted the link in with this. And I started 2 days ago on that article, and same thing, cross-referencing everything. As I'd come across stuff, I was cross-referencing to see where they were getting the information from. And some of it comes back to sites that are maybe not what you would call, definitely not mainstream. But there was a lot of stuff that if you kept searching, I was able to track it down to official pieces of news. One of the things that came up in this article was the fact that the Nazis shipped 10,000 women to Antarctica. And I'm not even going to try and say the name of the group because they were given an assigned name. It's that fucking long in German. I'm not even going to attempt to say it. 10,000 women. They were from Ukrainian and German women. Most of them were like blonde-haired, blue-eyed, physically fit, fell into all the parameters. And the initials for them were the ASF or AFS, something like that, okay? Along with the 10,000 women were 2,500 military scientists, et cetera, were also all shipped out. This is all during and in the early stages of World War II. This isn't like at the end of the war. This is in the lead up to. Now, when you try and look for this woman, and the name of this group of women was basically the Antarctica Women's something or other. So I went searching because I was like, okay, I need to find something that will show me that this is actually true. And I stumbled across an article, has nothing to do with Antarctica, nothing to do with the kind of stuff that we talk about. And it is about a woman who was charged with war crimes from the Nuremberg trials. She was a guard at Auschwitz. Her name is Irma.
Yeah, another one.
Gies, something like that. I'm sorry, guys. And I've got the links are all in the article. So, and the quote that comes up in one of the various, this website is just full of all about her trial, the letters that were sent in, what was the witness testimonies, etc., it is a little tiny piece about how, what was his name? One of the famous Nazi guys, German Nazi generals, Himmler, I think it was, how one of these women from this group was being punished, or she tried to escape, and she got sent to Auschwitz. And this guard discovered her robe, her uniform, because all these women wore a light blue uniform, dress uniform, and decided she really, really liked it. So she took the ASF emblem off and then put her, I guess, Auschwitz guard uniform badge on it and wore it as her uniform. Now that is the only thing I could find that fully confirmed from a completely different source that apparently this woman's group for Antarctica absolutely existed. So that was one of the pieces, which, as I said to Lisa, struck me as, oh, those 97 women who are all going to Antarctica this month?
77?
87?
One article I saw was 77 women.
Right, so 77 women, they're all young, they're all doctors and got master's degrees and PhDs and scientists, and they're all going to Antarctica on a field trip type thing. Like, oh, really? Do they need some new ovum? Is that it? They need some new breeding stock, or I don't know, fucking cloning, I don't know. So basically the proof in the Russian media has been fully outed by the Russian media. Oh yeah, the Nazis, they know the Nazis went there. The other thing that they have complete proof of, and they present in this show, in this recording, is the flying saucers. They fully talk about the saucers, how they were developed by the Nazis, the various types. They brought up interviews with all kinds of different people that talked about how they knew that the Nazis had developed these flying saucers. Oh. Now, the one interesting bit that they talked about was the fact of Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump, and how all of a sudden the US decided to send 4,900 men, an aircraft carrier, and a fucking shitload of ships, over 200 airplanes, all to Antarctica in 1946. And when they got there, they were supposed to be there for 6 months. And it was supposed to be, now the interesting part is this is supposed to have been a like a mapping and setting up a new science station for America. That's what was said before they left. And yet the Russian show says that just before he left, that Admiral Byrd announced that this was a military operation. So it had nothing to do with, you know, mapping out anything. It was a military operation. Supposed to last 6 months. Within 2 months, they had their tail between their legs and they were coming back.
I thought they were back with
Why?
It was either 3 or 6 weeks. Like it was.
They were there, and I don't know what the timetable given. Remember, you're also reading subtitles or translations from the Russian, so you don't know if it was, you know, 2 months from the time they left New York City, they were back again, right? That wasn't quite clarified.
Tom did what Tom does and found ASF stands for a very long German name, which translates as Association of Social Democratic Women.
That's not what I saw. It is, I've got the thing. I don't want to, my Zoom is glitching at the moment, and I'm afraid that if I go to a screen share, it may not come back. We're having one of those days. So anyways, in this battle, which is what the Russians say, is that basically when they went down there, Admiral Byrd got their asses handed to them by discs, flying discs that came out of the ocean, took out a destroyer, took out a pile of airplanes, took out a bunch of sailors, et cetera, and basically they hightailed it and left and went back to the States. And when you, again, like I say, when you watch the footage, it's holy shit. They're talking this Russian thing, talking very matter-of-factly, and this is what happened. And at the very end, when they're talking about all these flying discs, the various types that the Nazis were working on, and they were working on them from an engineering standpoint, but also from a very esoteric, occult standpoint. He says that the Russians at the end of the show saying these ships that they ran into in Antarctica could not have been the ones that the Germans were using, because the German ones were nowhere near ready for the scale of what happened down in Antarctica when these ships came out of the water. It opens the question, where did they come from then? Whose ships were they? And the Russians are like, it wasn't ours, definitely wasn't the Americans, and if it wasn't the Germans, whose ships were they? And then they go into a whole discussion about the fact of the poles are actually portals to other areas of the universe.
Universe.
And I'm like, did they just fucking say that? Did they just fucking say that? Holy shit. And literally, you guys are going to have to watch it. 45 minutes, well spent. So it's all very matter-of-factly discussed. And Ihor sent me a bunch of other links, and he's given me just very brief descriptions because they weren't unfortunately translated or notated in English. That basically there's a pile of very mainstream stations in Russia who've put out a shitload of this kind of information and have done for a while. So now we've got a confirmation. As far as I'm concerned, this is confirmation. We're not talking about wackadoodle conspiracy theory shit anymore. We're talking about, like, they showed records, they showed photographs, they showed like interviews with scientists, et cetera, that was pretty, let's say pretty hardcore, difficult to refute, that the Nazis, including Hitler, did go to Antarctica. So what have they been doing there for the last, 70 years now? Right? It's been like 70 years. Well, and okay, this is the whole thing. You talk about Admiral Byrd is talking about how he went inside the Earth, and that's where you get the Agartha stuff, and you get the fact that the Earth is hollow and there's an inner Earth, etc. And there's a lot of fucking information to wade through. I mean, a lot. And unfortunately, trying to cross-reference statements that purportedly were said by Admiral Byrd is very, very difficult. Like, if it's like they fucking went and they've buried all these recordings. There's only one recording I can find of him doing a TV talk show where he talks about basically the minerals down in Antarctica and uranium, et cetera, et cetera. But there's all these reports that he made statements. And like I said, in the Russian video, they actually confirmed some of the things that he said. What's interesting, and again, I couldn't confirm it, is apparently he made a report in his next trip down to Antarctica when he came back. So it was another trip after Operation High Jump where he went back to Antarctica, that it was the most important trip in the history of exploration. And that he apparently flew and mapped out 2,300 miles past the South Pole. 2,300 miles past the South Pole would take him all the way halfway up Africa again, or South America. Like, really, if we're talking about the world as they tell us it looks, right? So what did he do? Where did he go? Who did he meet? Who has these wonderful flying saucers that apparently kicked the Americans' asses back in 1946-47? Right? Interesting question. Did you know Operation High Jump wasn't the only operation going on at that time? At the same time,
Nanook thing?
Nanook Operation Nook was taking place into Greenland at the exact same time. As a matter of fact, the one icebreaker that was used up in Greenland finished breaking through the ice up there in what is now Thule Air Force Base. Immediately went down south to go work on Operation High Jump. Same icebreaker, did both. Now again, the one that went to Greenland, again, it's supposed to be a mapping and setting up a weather station. They took with them, besides what I counted off, and I've got the whole list of how many men there were and how many ships and how many, all the rest of it, 2 massive transportation ships, massive. They were hired by the US military and the US Navy to transport men and equipment. Now, it doesn't tell you what they were transporting, and it sounds like they were there in Greenland for a grand total of about 6 weeks, and reportedly built like an airfield and some barracks. So I'm pretty sure they didn't need 2 massive transportation, like transport ships, unless they were carrying something else, right? All at the same time. And again, there was about 2,000 men involved. Again, why was there that many men? Why did they need to send 8 ships to Greenland?
Mapping in a weather station? Is that what you said?
Huh?
The mapping in a weather station? Is that what you said?
Yeah, to put in a weather station.
So no corresponding stories about women being sent to Greenland or anything like that? No, nothing that I could find. I couldn't find nothing but women being shipped off to Greenland.
Oh, but again,
Greenland had quite a big quake today.
Greenland had some interesting shit happen. Well, I don't know about Greenland, Chris, but here's the thing that was interesting, because I was looking for Operation Nanook. Apparently, starting in 2007, the Canadian government has repeating Operation Nanook that happens every year. And it's an Arctic military exercise. And this year, in 2016, Operation Nanook, they were doing simulated earthquake, emergency earthquake stuff. Yesterday, there was a 6.4 earthquake in Nunavut.
So you've got a big ice shelf threatening to drop off on the south. You've got earthquakes in the north. Interesting.
But Lisa, this is the first earthquake of decent size, like a 5.0 or greater in Nunavut since 1997. So what are they doing? Arctic earthquake preparation training in an area that almost never gets earthquakes.
At the time.
And then yesterday, they have a 6.4 earthquake, or today, actually, for me.
So it just sounds like a 9/11 scenario where it's like we're doing the exact drill on the day that the exact thing happens.
Yeah. I was going through this shit, and the stuff and then you go to the Thule stuff. And of course, we talked about Thule and the Thule Society, and of course, the US Air Force Base is called Thule in Greenland. You have the Thule Society, who is completely tied to the Nazis and all the esoteric and the occult stuff. Then down in the South Sandwich Islands, right off the coast of Argentina and Antarctica, you have Thule Island, which was discovered by none other than Captain Cook. And you sit there and you go like, what the hell? And you start looking at some of the history over the last 100 years of the islands down there, i.e. like the Falkland Islands. Do you know that England kicked the Argentinians off the Falkland Islands in 1830?
No.
1830, England came, kicked the Argentinians out of the Falkland Islands and took it over. And at the time, basically, they created, some kind of a treaty thing that claimed everything from those islands all the way to the South Pole as theirs, as the British Empire's. Which now gives you a different understanding of maybe perhaps a little more about what the Falkland Islands War was about.
Yeah.
And why Falkland was trying to take those islands back. Because they're part of a basic claim to Antarctica.
The question is always why? Why? Now, there's always at least two ways to look at it. So my feeling, and I think yours too, is that they're losing control. The whole construct is glitching and they're losing control. So is this just disclosure? Or is the earth, and the earthquakes and the ice shelf and all that, like everything's naturally shaking itself up and going to be revealed? Or is it fuckery? I mean, there's...
Yeah.
And
is there fuckery afoot? Yes, there's definitely fuckery afoot.
Yeah, but my feeling is that it's all happening as it absolutely should. Now, last time they put a lot of focus on Antarctica, and while everybody was looking south, we looked north to see what was going on. There was some interesting stuff going on north that wasn't getting a lot of attention. I think that's when they sent the Canadian military there, wasn't it?
Yeah, the weird sounds in the Arctic, from the floor of the Arctic Ocean. Well, that's why the operation in Nook struck me. It was like, well, the world's attention is looking at Operation High Jump. And even now, everyone talks about Operation High Jump. And yet there's no mention of this other one that took place. And the Nook was only the first. There was multiple ones that took place all over Greenland, north of Norway, and of course, northern Canada. There was all kinds of fucking shit that happened between 1947 and 1952. All to do with the fucking Arctic. No one looks at it. No one talks about it. And the shit that went on with Greenland itself during the Second World War. Like, who claimed ownership of it, and the U.S. jumping over there and being like, no, we'll take, it's like, it doesn't even belong to you. It's part of Denmark. At that point, it was a part of Norway at that point. It's so hard to tell. They just keep trading Greenland off left, right, and center, apparently.
But are they fighting over it now? Even now, was it Greenland, Canada, the U.S.?
No, that's the North Pole.
Oh,
Canada, Russia, Norway, Denmark, and now America. And I'm not even sure how America thinks they've got a stance in any of this, since the North Pole is nowhere near Alaska.
Yeah.
So just trying to catch up here. So you were an alert, Arkansas? Dude, you're fucking brave. Alert is like one of the most northern places in the fucking world. No one wants to be sent to Alert. Trust me.
I'm assuming that's 1987?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's 980. You meant 1987, not 1087, because otherwise you look really good for your age. Oh, interesting. There we go. Tom, there you go. Tom just said it. He said the ASF is the Antarctische Siedlungen Frauen, which was the Antarctic settlement women. Yeah. Somebody who speaks German can try and pronounce that for me, because I don't think I ever want to try and do that again. I might hurt myself. So what's going on? We got all this shit on the poles, both poles, north and south. I've also got crossed information about where exactly the magnetic South Pole is. Because Nick and I were down that rabbit hole fucking 2 years ago. And we were tracing out the path of the North Pole versus where the South Pole was. And where everyone knows the North Pole has been literally like fucking wandering all over the fucking place for the last 40 years. The South Pole has not moved hard. It has moved, but has not moved anywhere near as much. But I got two different reports.
If poles, they should be doing this, should they not?
They should, and that was our point. Wait. If it's a globe, and it runs by physics rules of magnetics, the north and the south should be exact mirrors. So if the north is going like this, the south should be doing the same thing and moving at the same rate, and it's not. According to their own official records, it's not. But now you can't figure out if the South Pole is over water or over land.
Arca would like to unmute and share some stuff about alert.
I would love you to. Please do.
I will unmute you, darling. Hang on. That's the hide you. Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Say again, hon.
Okay, hi guys. It's my first time like talking to you direct. Yeah, Dani, me too. I was with the Canadian Forces. I was with them as an officer. When I joined the Canadian Forces, I was 29 years old. So I had some maturity at the time. And in 1987, I asked to go to CFS Alert. So of course, my commanding officer said, okay, what's your problem?
Arca, can you do me a favor, honey? Can you speak a little louder?
Okay, can you hear me this way?
It's the same.
I'm going to. Okay, how about this way? Is it better?
That's a bit better.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, in 1987, when I asked my commanding officer I was a captain at the time, and I asked to have this experience at the North Pole. You have to know that at the time I was 87, I was 37 years old, very much asleep. I didn't know anything of what I know now. So I thought I'm just gonna go and feel, the North Pole and the nature and being on the top of the globe. So I had only one condition. I said, I'm going there as long as I can be there during the 4 months daylight and 2 months nightlight. I wanted to have both experiences. So I got there in April 1987. I was having a ball because I was the second in command. The commanding officer of this station in Alert was in charge of all the operational activities. Even though I had a top secret clearance, I was still not allowed to go into the operation rooms. But being the second in command and being a woman, an officer, I managed to, let's say, convince some of the master warrant officers. And I went into those operation rooms as long, anyway. So I was told that these operations that they were conducting was mainly to listen to all the communications between Russia and the United States.
Yeah.
That was the official version that I was given. So I thought, okay, that's okay. And so during the Operation Nanook, the two pilots, okay, in Operation Nanook, it's an airplane, it's a military airplane, well, Canadian, leaving Trenton, going to Thule and doing, every day Thule to SFS Alert, the station in Alert, to get some what we call dry goods like toilet paper, bed sheets, that sounds a bit to you. So they were doing that every day. So of course these two pilots, they were officers, and they were staying with us in the barracks for the officers. So one morning I was having breakfast with the pilot and the co-pilot, and I said, I love flying. And they said, oh, you know what, why don't you come with us today? We don't have any goods to transport. That's very weird anyway. But we have to go to Thule. So I said, okay, let me get things organized and I'm going with you guys. So I went with them. We left in the morning and we spent the whole day in Thule. But the thing is that in Thule, I was allowed, including the two pilots, to remain within the confine of the officers' mess. And the reason I was given is that because, you know, there's nothing, we don't have any much business to go into the base. And I said, look, I said, it's my first time in Greenland. You know, I used some of my female manipulation tactics to convince them to let me walk on the base and to look how the soldiers live. I wanted to see their, you know, their sergeant's mess, etc., etc. And I, you know, even though I explained to them that at the time I was an admin officer, that Dani probably rings a bell to you also. I was an admin officer, so I could work with any grade. I could, you know, serve on any base, Navy base, Air Force base, you name it. But that didn't work. They really were very negative. Like, no, you stay within the officers' mess. I said, gee, but we're going to be here all day just to see these walls. And even with the two pilots, they just didn't let them walk on the base. So that was in June 1987. If I had known at the time what I know today, holy shit, it would have been different. But anyway, that was my experience in 87. Isn't it something with what's going on in Thule, what was going on? See, I didn't know anything either about the secret society called Thule. I knew nothing.
And here's the thing, which is so wild, is the fact of, you know, according to official records, Thule is nothing more than a fucking weather station.
That's correct. That's correct. Same thing with Alert. Alert is mainly to check the weather.
Check the weather. Yep.
Yep.
Yet,
yep.
second in command couldn't hear the reports that were going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is seriously fucking cool.
Yeah, and when you talk about your own experiences with the Canadian Forces, oh, gee, I know so much what you mean. Yeah. So anyway, just to share this little bit with you guys, and I'm watching you. I mean, I've been with you guys for 2 years. I'm listening and being with you. So thank you so much for your work.
Oh, thank you for coming on and telling us that. I wanted to hear that. That is really cool.
Okay. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
I can take my earplugs back out now.
Mine don't have a microphone. The ones I grabbed, so I can't keep them. That was.
I mean, and this is the whole thing. Alert in Canada. First of all, if you guys don't know, Alert Base, go Google map where Alert Base is. Alert Canada is about as far north as you're gonna get without a dog sled. And actually, I think they use dog sleds a lot over there too, from what I remember. So it is way the fuck up north, and it is purportedly, it's basically just a weather station. You know, communications and weather station. Like it's not, there shouldn't be anything super secretive, really. And the same thing with Thule. Thule is supposed to be just a fucking weather station. When you look at the pictures, if you go Google it, it's like a couple of fucking ramshackle looking buildings that are built on stilts in the middle of fucking nowhere. Something going on.
Oh, there's always something going on.
Oh,
That's a given.
Yeah, so like we said, the whole thing about the Canadian military going to investigate the strange sound coming from the Arctic seafloor of the North Pole. And then not another word. Nothing gets said, nothing.
So is there any other piece that you've come up with over the last, whatever it is, 13 hours that you might want to make sure you bring out?
There was so much stuff, like all the occult stuff. Now, again, the Thule, If you go research Thule, and I'm going to pull up the thing just to give my own notes, just to read some of the things.
Maria Orsak, I think is her name, the woman, one of the women behind the esoteric channeling stuff that I think was the foundation of the Thule Society and that. She went missing too. She was never found again. She's one of the ones.
She went missing.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is the Vril Society. Now, one of the things that's talked about in this Russian video is they talk really openly about these two women. And the fact that the one woman was channeling beings from somewhere out in the Taurus constellation who gave her all the technical information of how to build these saucers. Now, here's the piece that is not talked about that I haven't read before. Anyways, not only did these flying saucers that she got the technical schematics for, hover, flying saucer, typical, they also bent and warped time. And I literally paused the video at that point and went back and listened to like that 30-second little bit again and was like, oh snap. And the fact that the Nazis were so excited by this, is it Himmler? Is it Himmler who was the head of the Thule, the Nazi head for the Thule stuff? Okay. That they were so excited because at that point, what were the Nazis searching for? All the religious artifacts, all of the esoteric artifacts. And apparently they were very excited to find out this sphere of destiny in this report for out of Russia. It says it was in the Museum of Venice. And that was one of the reasons why Hitler made the deal and went into Austria when he did, because the first thing he wanted was the Spear of Destiny. What was the other thing he was looking for? The Holy Grail. And the Spear of Destiny is supposedly the male, the Holy Grail being the female, that they were supposed to work in balance. So, talk about a fucking Indiana Jones movie. I mean, seriously, Indiana Jones just came directly out of all these fucking reports. I swear to God. But their excitement about the fact that this thing would warp time and space was that they could use it to go back in time to collect all this esoteric knowledge and artifacts. Now, they said that basically from 1935 until 1942, they had amassed, the Nazi Party had amassed so much knowledge, so many writings. They went everywhere. They went to Tibet, they went to India, they went to China, they went to South America. They went all over the world collecting esoteric fucking books and anything about the occult, anything about religious, anything. That at one point, one of these libraries that they'd amassed, they knew the Red Army was coming, so they started shipping out, like getting all the books out of this library. 140,000 volumes were taken out of this library and transported out before the Red Army got there. That's one library. 140,000 fucking volumes, books, scrolls, you name it. So now we have, again, we're coming back to this whole esoteric, occult, religious fucking artifacts. And we go into, I go back again and I said, holy shit, all the shit with Yemen, the war in Yemen. What did I discover was in Yemen? It's the palace of Bathsheba. The queen of, sorry, not Bathsheba, the queen of Sheba, which was the last known resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. And it was carved on the outside of her castle walls when they found them, which was about, I think, in 90 or 93, where they uncovered this palace, and it was all the wall, the story of the Queen of Sheba getting the Ark of the Covenant and how King Solomon sent it to her for safekeeping is carved on the walls. Oh, who did all the translating? German archaeologists. That was in 1992 or 93. And then we have the war in Yemen with Saudi Arabia going in. And we have that fucking report that goes into all the sorcerer fail stuff about the Ark of Gabriel. And how we have all the shit that happened in Mecca in 2015. The two major accidents where thousands of people were killed that happened almost simultaneously. And then you have Patriarch Kirill, meeting with the Pope in Cuba in an international airport, which makes it international waters, i.e. no country's jurisdiction. They have a secret meeting, and then Kirill goes right down to Antarctica. And you have to sit there and go, okay, you know what? This stuff is not that far-fetched anymore. When you start looking at the other details around the history of this, it now isn't all that far-fetched that maybe they did find the Ark of the Covenant. And that is, I did several Conspicuous News reports on the fact that Saudi Arabia was bombing the shit out of Maghreb in Yemen. There ain't fucking nothing there. It's the middle of the fucking desert. And they were talking about oil. I'm like, there's no fucking oil there. It's the desert in Yemen. There's tribes peoples. That's it. Oh, except there's the Queen of Sheba's palace. Right there.
Was it destroyed?
I haven't looked at the satellite images recently. I haven't pulled it up since probably April 2015 was when I was really down that rabbit hole. And you could still see the outer walls were still there. But apparently there's a dam that was built in the time of the Queen of Sheba, which is considered to be like one of the 7 wonders of the world. That's been destroyed. And that's just over, like maybe 75, 80 miles away from where her palace was. I don't know if the palace is standing because you could get no information, but for about a 6-week period, Saudi Arabia bombed the shit out of Maghreb. And there was no reason for it. Like I said, there was nothing fucking there. I researched the shit out of it. There was even the military, the Yemen military base that was there was so fucking tiny. It was the top of a hill with 3 buildings and a tank. That was it. So there was no reason for it. Unless, of course, they were after something in Shiva's palace.
Someone just made a comment about, and yet we're still no closer to going home. I beg to differ.
I beg to differ.
I do beg to differ. Are you done with the Antarctic thing? Because I want to change subjects for us.
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up, and you just got to give me a second. Give me a quick second. I know there was one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Give me a sec. Hold on. There was all the further links. Okay, there was that links. No. Oh, okay. Yeah, so basically the Thule stuff. And I've got this all written down in the article. That was the one thing I wanted to tell you about. In the Thule stuff, when you look at all the history of Thule, so Thule is a myth, well, not necessarily mythological land, like Shambhala, Shangri-La, right? Thule is another one of those places. Now, the first person who talked about Thule, his writings, he was an explorer back in 320 BC, Greek explorer Pytheas, and he wrote about Thule. Now, all of his writings are gone. They have nothing left of his original writings, but his writings were quoted by many, many other famous explorers and writers at the time. So that's how they track it down, right? So here's the thing. He wrote about Thule, whose region, because he purportedly says he found it. Those regions in which there is no longer any proper land, nor sea, nor air, but a sort of mixture of all 3 of the consistency of a jellyfish, in which one can neither walk nor sail, holding everything together, so to speak. That's what he wrote about Thule. Now,
It sounds an awful lot like the membrane I was kind of experiencing.
okay, the other word that keeps coming up is Ultima Thule. In medieval geographies denotes a distant place located beyond the borders of the known world. And then interesting, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a poem called Dreamtime that talks about Thule, and it says, from an ultimate dim Thule, from a wild, weird clime that lieth sublime out of space, out of time. And you sit here and you're going, oh,
Okay,
if you're talking.
my body is doing the, it's pinging like you've got no idea.
What was this?
Yeah.
The space at a time again? Oh. And if we're talking about
as above, so below, there's
a Thule in the north and a Thule in the south.
Okay, so you remember the separating the waters from the waters quote out of the Bible?
Right.
Oh,
and I can't remember what
I
scripture
feel like
it
my
is.
brain is scrambling to try and put this together. So it's as physical as it is energetic. So you separate the waters from the waters, and what you end up with, like a parting the sea kind of thing, and you end up with this gelatinous thing at the periphery. It's membrane. It's physical as well as energetic. Holy shit, can you go? Can
Do you want me to read it again?
Please.
Okay, so the bit about what Pythias said, Thule, whose regions in which there is no longer any proper land, nor sea, nor air, but a sort of mixture of all three of the consistency of a jellyfish, in which one can neither walk nor sail, holding everything together, so to speak.
If you don't walk, sail, that leaves swimming and flying.
Okay, here, get this now. The other land that is crossed over with Thule is another place called Hyperborea.
Oh, Hyperborea?
Hyperborea. And Thule and Hyperborea are purportedly, in many people, considered to be the same place. So Hyperborea was one of several places to the Greeks and Romans where Pliny, Pindar, and Herodotus, as well as Virgil and Cicero, reported that people lived to the age of 1,000 and enjoyed lives of complete happiness. Do you know where else it's associated with?
Mm-hmm.
Mammoth Cave in Kentucky.
Say that again?
Mammoth Caves in Kentucky is also associated with Thule. One of the main cave branches is called the Thule, Ultima Thule.
So what?
And those caves are also linked. Agartha. The Mammoth Caves are, again, one of those ones that's talked about as being an entrance to Agartha.
I take it that's not open to the public? Is that?
Yeah, it is. You apparently can go into the Mammoth Caves. Now, I'm sure you can't. They're massive, massive, go on forever and ever and ever. So I'm sure the ones they don't want you to go in are knocked off.
For someone that's just up the road.
Nicole just said, been there, Mammoth Caves. Yeah, exactly. And it is mammoth as in not woolly mammoth, mammoth as in gigantic. That's why they're called the Mammoth Caves. Okay, so this all comes back to this Thule stuff. And again, you said that you've got the description of like a gelatinous where you can't walk, you can't sail, to multiple of the biggest names in Greek history, talking about it as the place where people live to be 1,000 years old and in perpetual happiness. I've just lost Lisa. I don't know where she's gone. So this is where I'm saying, like when I went down this rabbit hole today, it wasn't just today. I mean, I've been going at this all fucking weekend long, but today it was 13 hours nonstop. And Dreamcatcher, yeah, read. The poem is called Dreamland by Edgar Allan Poe. Read it. Really fucking interesting poem. And Edgar Allan Poe is another one of those people from history who had his fingers tied into a whole lot of different stuff. All of the esoteric, all of the secret societies. So again, alchemy, exactly, Rosemary, alchemy as well, he was known to be dabbling. So when you see these things, these writings come out, you go, this isn't a guy, this is a guy who was in the know. This is a guy who, again, Edgar Allan Poe was well involved in all of that shit. And the Gnostic shit with the Nazis and apparently Stalin. And there's something that is a new one that I'm just starting to touch into now. And Ihor sent me a bunch of Russian translated articles because they wouldn't translate through Google, so he translated a pile of stuff and sent it to me, and I still have to go through it again. But there's the big questions, Lise, and it doesn't even just get into, like, when you read this one article, and I'm going to send it over to you. I meant to do it earlier, but I figured you wouldn't get a chance to read it before the show anyway. This one piece, now it's all based in the Gnostic, their version. It's very much a Gnostic type feel to it, of this belief structure, if you will. But again, it questions who's Lucifer. Who's Lucifer? And what was Hitler really fighting against? And who was he really? And Stalin, was he working with Hitler? At least at the very beginning.
My feeling around all of this information is not necessarily that it's time to go digging down rabbit holes, but that something is coming. And at least if we've got a huge question mark over all of this, we won't have the response we've all been programmed for, and can just take a look, just take a step back. That line, the English are coming, the English are coming. That's kind of going through my head, because I feel like that's what we're being prepped for, is this fear-mongering of whether it's the Nazis are back, or whether it's aliens, whether it's, whatever it is. Just put a big mark over everything we've been told about all of that, so that you don't go into a knee-jerk programmed response.
Well, no, exactly. And that's why I think it is so important that we're actually, you and I have said this for fucking years now. Shine the spotlight on it and ask the fucking questions. It brings attention to it that we can then see the questions. And we, like you said, you see it not as it's being represented to be, but it's, oh, no, just wait. I have some fucking questions. The other thing that came up, and I started talking to you about this morning, the whole thing about the Philadelphia experiment. Now, here's the question that I have, and I don't know if this is even remotely, if we even have a way of answering this. We've discussed the Mandela effects of the Second World War. We've talked about the Toto effects, where we've seen things like fucking Japanese balloon bombing fucking Manitoba, and fucking airships dropping bombs over Los Angeles, and stuff that just, I know in my reality, it didn't fucking happen. The U-boats did not sail up the St. Lawrence fucking Seaway almost as far as Quebec City to drop off spies. Didn't fucking happen. And we've talked about where the changes, why the changes, what is the meaning of these changes that we're seeing now, you know, like U-boats off of fucking Australia, of all fucking places, right? What is the meaning? So I went looking at, because of another roundabout way, again, something that got pinged me first thing this morning in the UU room, Operation Paper,
Philadelphia experiment.
Philadelphia experiment, thank you. Glad one of us can speak English. And when I went to look up the Philadelphia experiment, there's a lot of fucking changes to it now. And mostly, I mean, they're now saying it took place in 1943. Lisa and I both agree, we remember it as being 1944, not 1943. But the actual feeling of the information being presented about it, the whole feeling has changed. Whereas everything that I researched, because I went heavily down that rabbit hole back in about 5 years ago, and even in mainstream discussions of the Philadelphia experiment, where they tried to be like, oh, it's not real, it didn't really happen, there was a lot of questions that were open, and a lot of information is brought forward, even in the mainstream, that leaves the big question mark of like, that could, maybe it did happen, you know, I kind of, you know. And of course, in the truther type circles and those kind of things, there was tons of documentation. It was this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. I go look at today, and all the mainstream stuff totally belittles that it ever happened. Completely, as in it's asinine to even think that it could have possibly have happened. And even in some of the truther sites, the way it's presented now is like, well, there's not really any proof that it happened. Maybe, you know, we're not sure. And it's become very wishy-washy. The whole story has become very, very wishy-washy. And it's like, is this a change? Is this another Mandela effect change that we're seeing? The downplaying all of that is somehow kind of almost being erased. And I can't even, how do we even figure it out? Okay, well, Cindy, that's one of the questions. The Nazis are bending time as we speak. Okay, are they bending time? To what purpose?
The one where they got the job done that they set out to do?
Is it? That's the whole thing.
Okay, there's been a lot of requests.
Okay, Ihora just said, Dani, Russian mainstream media is also very matter-of-fact about the Philadelphia experiment too. Great, see, I didn't know that. There you go, it's another piece of the puzzle.
Right, I do want to get back to the membrane thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't feel it physically, like I was literally feeling it. I'm not feeling it anymore. However, water in general is playing a huge part in people's dreams, visions, whatever you want to call it, waking and asleep. And
what Tracy just said, Lisa, membrane, memory brain.
Yeah.
Tracy's
great at stuff like that.
I know. Fuck, I love you, Tracy.
And it's not what we're used to seeing in dreams with water, like tidal waves or, you know, calm seas, or, you know, it's not that. It's literally traveling through it and coming out the other side. And from people who have no concept, because I'm getting messages from people going, oh my God, my completely asleep neighbor, daughter, spouse, whatever, co-worker told me about this dream they just had. So people with no concept of the construct or of home or of membranes or of any of this stuff are also having these dreams where there is some mode of traveling through water and they come out the other side, and there's this incredibly beautiful place, and they're met by people that they know and love, but they have no clue who they are in this reality, and they don't want to leave. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed with the number of stories that are coming at me. Yes, the age of Aquarius and the water bearer. Interesting.
There's been some seriously cool dreams. Some seriously cool dreams that have been put into the UnFuckers room in just the last week alone.
Now, those of you who watch this show via Dee's YouTube channel or Dee's website only may not know that
yes,
I've published 3 different chats now over the last 6 weeks between myself and a couple of the LMH members. And the last one that we just did a couple of days ago was called The Stars Are Singing and the Number 88.
and I'm going to download it tomorrow and put it on so that people can grab that and see that, because I know that I'll make sure that we can get people will see it, because I did not get a chance to watch it today, Lise. I'm really sorry. I had it all it's still scrolled up on my screen. I did not get a chance to watch it today. So that's my sit tomorrow, watch it.
Yes, there was a male voice that popped in. It went completely unnoticed by myself and Laine. Donna heard it and thought it was me bringing up a video on YouTube, which it wasn't. Okay, so keep it short. The premise was it was based on a discussion, an experience that Laine had around the stars, which led to a whole heap of research. And the number 12 kept coming up, as well as 8 and 88. And at a point where Laine was saying something like, we talked about, okay, I need to bring up the image, because there's something that's occurred to me since. And if there's any Yellow Rose for Texas people here who understand that Yellow Rose's material, I wanted to ask you about this. So here we have, now I didn't know any of this, right? So apparently there are...
Please, she'll be back in a second. Oh, there she is. Maybe. Whenever I see the 8, whenever I see the number 8, the very first thing that I think of is the Mobius strip. You got it?
Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
I'll try that again. Okay, so we've got 88 constellations and 8 families.
I can't see any image. Please.
You can't see it yet?
I can't see anything. Can you guys see anything? Nope, it's just a black screen.
Huh.
No view? Nope. Nope, no one can see it.
All right, hang on.
Why is your screen share not working? That's strange.
I'm going to turn my camera off.
Oh, gross.
What about now?
Nope. It's just a black screen. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Okay. So you can see 88 constellations and 8 families. And here is the ecliptic. So it's only this band here that we use as part of our astrology. Now what I found interesting, and I'm wondering whether this represents the membrane, or is the membrane that divides the waters from the waters, as I was saying earlier, as above, so below. There's something in all of this. Now, for those of you who were around when Lulu came out the first time and showed us went to Google Sky and rattled off a bunch of stars where the apparent 12 come from, when you have a look at that, the 12 are all come from below the ecliptic. Now, for those Yellow Rose for Texas people, the story is that Earth was in a realm called heaven, and it was attacked and basically kidnapped and brought down into their realm called the abyss. And I'm wondering if this is not the membrane that would separate heaven from the abyss in that description. Does that make sense? If you're going to look at it.
Makes sense to me. I thought it was really interesting. When you were discussing with me this morning, I thought it was very, very interesting. And the 88 keys on the piano, someone said.
So this was all about frequencies and the connection. So I'm just trying to bring out the little nuggets that we got from that chat, which was that I've been saying for a while that I've the feeling that the planets, the moon, the sun, I'm not sure about where that fits in right now, at least the original one, are a form of technology, and the stars are something else again. I think, but with Laine's experience, what she came out with was this feeling that perhaps there's a saying, I don't know who said it now, that the moon, the light of the moon sort of blots out all but the brightest stars. So what if the brightest stars we see in the sky are also part of this technology network which overrides the frequency of the surrounding less bright stars? The ones that, if the less bright stars were part of the original construct and part of the original tech here, they just plot in these more powerful ones that are part of the tech that reprogram the frequencies of all the other surrounding stars. And if we correlate that to the keyboard, for example, there should be a frequency range for us of 88 tones, 88 frequency range, and we've been narrowed down to a band of 12 with this focus on those 12. And again, with the number 12.
And 88 keys on the piano represents 11 octaves. Does it not?
And if you saw in that...
there? Come on, Zoom. Just work, please. There we go. Okay, you got it, because my Zoom is being fucktarded today again.
And if you haven't done it already, go down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy around the number 88, because it's... Oh, and there's also 8 blood types. Is there not?
Yeah, someone brought that up, and I was like, not... Not anymore, because now you've got multiple blood types out there. They have all kinds of new blood types that have just, appeared.
Four, A, B, O times 2, positive and negative.
Positive and negative. But now there's more blood types now. Now there's a whole shitload of new fucking blood types. I don't know. They've just fucking appeared in the last 2 years, Lisa.
Oh, so the voice of the
at the same time that, O positive is no longer the universal donor.
As for who the voice was in the video, don't know. I mean, it sounded like the Mariah's character who came through on New Year's Eve is who it sounded like. There's something about, there's a connection between that map, the membrane, it is, I think it's both physical and energetic. I don't think we physically have to go anywhere to go through a physical membrane to get to somewhere else. We're doing it anyway. Again, I don't know. That Thule thing just put me on a spin.
Yeah, the Thule thing is a pretty, and I haven't even gotten down, like I said, because then you get into, like I said, this Gnostic kind of wow stuff that's like brings in, like I said, the Lucifer stuff, the planet Venus, the morning star, who the morning star is, the demiurge, yeah. And of course, the whole Yahweh, Yabbadoth.
See, the Ophiuchus or whatever, however they pronounce that constellation.
I don't even know how to say that one.
When you look at that graph, right? It actually
goes through that.
It goes through that. Doesn't go through Scorpio. It goes through that, and yet we've been Scorpio instead.
And
it's not
why?
Really, well, it's not really 13. It's not actually it's 12. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just, it's not as well. It's actually instead of.
Instead of, and that's what kind of blew me away when you showed me that chart this morning. It was like, wait a second, then why is Scorpio in there at all? Because it doesn't even, that line, the ecliptic doesn't even go through Scorpio, according to that chart.
Yeah, I think so, Aaron. I think the membrane. See, I mean, I don't take Yellow Rose's material literal. I think there are some elements that are literal.
I'll be right back.
I don't take it all as literal, but none of this I don't really take as literal. It's a way of visualizing a lot of things, but even go back to that commercial. Who was it for? That alcohol commercial. Can someone remember who it was? It goes, the first guy to ever go up into space. Hennessy, the Hennessy commercial, where it's showing the first guy who ever went out into space using a balloon, mind you, and then they show him going through a water barrier, and then it moves into his son who was the first person to, or the person to go the deepest into the oceans, crashing to the top. This water membrane concept, it's everywhere. And that's why I'm blown away about this Thule thing. It, again, talks about this, and so long ago. And the water and waters everywhere, including the water in our bodies, is what's the water in the environment. I feel like it's all vibrating and almost like waking up, shaking off. Water is the optical lens for the light. Scorpio's a water sign, huh? And the Ophiuchus one is supposed to be an earth sign, I believe.
Like I said, I don't even know. I've kind of ignored that whole thing, been like, I just can't, don't add more signs to the horoscope. My brain can't deal with that anymore.
Oh, yes. That's right, Christine. This footage is really, really hard to find now. There was a guy who was doing a documentary under the ocean, and he got to a spot where, and they're in a little submarine filming all of this, and you can see it. There is literally like a lake, an underwater lake. Yep. Under the ocean.
I've seen them.
With an edge, and he said you couldn't go into it. It was so, he assumed saline, so salty that he bounced off. And as soon as he talked to very shortly,
Yeah, it was super salinated. He couldn't get
he
in.
died very mysteriously, not long after going public with it. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
But there's the correlations with people's experiences right now. Like I said, even people who have no concept, the idea of a home, the idea of family that has got no connection to the ones they've got here, water, membrane. What was the other thing that was a lot? Bridges, and for those who are starting to get a little bit sensitive, energetically sensitive, this feeling like there was a presence around, which is new. And for people who don't normally feel that stuff as well. Water is programmable. I don't know where my head is going. I'm probably a blabbering mess right now. But I would love it if, for those of you who haven't, to go and watch that video and see if it triggers any info. Maybe you've done research in this area, maybe you've got experiences. But the stars are talking, the stars are singing, and the stars are communicating, if you are able to listen. That's it. I'm just going to leave it there.
Well, I just found out something interesting. We'll go back to the Thule thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an element. It's related to an element called thulium. It is a chemical element with the symbol Tm and the atomic number of 69. And it is a silver metal. It looks like, actually, like the silver shiny metal hematite. It looks exactly like hematite. And it's used as a radiation source in portable X-ray devices and in solid-state lasers. It's called thulium. Just bizarre.
Here's another thing.
It's a rare earth metal.
Oh, Tracy, you remember the thread probably, where it was brought up that the Ra business and radium, was it radium? Is number 88. Ra. Yeah, it was in the thread in UU room from the video.
Atomic number 88. Hold on, let me just take a look.
Ra is known as the sun god. Ra is also the symbol for
Radium.
And
radium, chemical element with the symbol Ra and the atomic number 88. It is the sixth element in the periodic table.
There's a connection there between and Ra, the sun god, as well. Discovered in 1898.
Huh. And radium is found in uranium. Interesting. Volatile silvery white metal. Oh, and it's right up there with calcium, strontium, and barium.
As what?
What do we know those from?
Chemtrails?
Yeah. Interesting. I'm just scanning through the radium information now. I can't help myself, you know that. Interesting. Okay, let's just put it down, put it down, put it down, walk away from the computer. Yeah. Craziness check, complete and utter fucking craziness. That's all I have to say.
The tech is glitching. All I'm seeing is more and more evidence that the tech is glitching. So even as all this information is coming out about Antarctica and everything else, it's why I tend to think that maybe it's just, it can't be suppressed anymore.
Yeah, we are the virus.
Yeah,
we are the virus that's in the matrix right now. All of us, everyone in this room right now is a virus in the matrix.
Blanket fort. Save me a spot, Chris.
Yeah. Ah, yes.
Make it go boom. Yes, the Pope also made mention of a virus. He said there was a virus. Was he specific in the Vatican, or was it broader than that? I think it was broader than that. No, maybe it was just the Vatican. Holy shit! I'm just getting energetic.
You're just glitching out.
Yeah, I'm having my own glitches.
Well,
you know that feeling when it's all sitting there in the back of your head, and it's all kind of slowly moving into place, going click, click. Just won't come forward.
All day today. So Nick's at work, and of course he's working in the building. So he comes and goes, like he'll jump up to the apartment, grab him another cup of coffee, or run to use the bathroom. And I run downstairs and, go bring him stuff. I kept saying to him, as I'm going through the research, he'd be like, come in like an hour and a half later and he'd be like, so what else have you got? And I'd be like, la, 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 la. And I was like, here's the thing. I have this piece, and I know that we have all the pieces now. It's like we have all the pieces, but there's one piece that while it's there and we see it right in front of us, we need to turn it because it doesn't quite fit. But the moment we turn it and put it in, everything's going to go click. But I just have this whole, lately, all of this shit that's been coming out, all these bits and pieces, I just feel like we're so fucking close. And it's a matter of, we just need that one piece. And there's just one piece that's going to come up, and all of a sudden it's all going to click together and go, oh, fuck.
But see, okay, so this is what we talked about in that video too. Now, you and I have said since I think the beginning of 2015 that it feels like the prison doors are open, right? But we're just being so hit with all these distractions so that we don't bother to push against it to notice that not only is it open, but the walls are gone. They're just gone. But we're so used to being enslaved. We're so used to looking for the fuckery. We're so used to questioning, looking for the agenda that we haven't realised. And we're still running around focused on, well, there's got to be something fucked up here, right? We haven't realised that we're free. We haven't realised that it's over. We haven't realised that it's actually all done. And it's kind of slowly creeping into our subconscious because it can't smack us in the face. We're just not ready for that. We've got to slowly, apparently, realise this.
And that's my overwhelming feeling I've had as well, is the fact of it's right there. And like you say, it can't just be smack in the face. There's almost like a process that we have to go, if this plus this plus this plus this plus this, before we can get to the equal sign. And we have to kind of go through the process.
And then when we do the veil, we'll just, the membrane, the veil, the whatever. We will. I agree.
Whatever. And I agree, Cindy. I'm so ready. Just fucking just smack me in the face with all this shit. Sorry, that was exactly what I said.
Chris said, I had a repetitive dream where I was outside and pointing at the stars and telling people they are not stars, they are UFOs, and then they started flying down to Earth, and I was like, see, I told you. Okay, so Assassin's Creed.
I had a shitload of those dreams in 2013 and 2012. A shitload of those dreams.
The Assassin's Creed movie coincides with the Eden thing you posted last week. Can you expand on that? What Eden thing did I post?
What Eden thing? And which one of us?
But I don't remember what.
I have a really shitty cam copy of Assassin's Creed that I just turned on. We tried to watch it, and it's such a bad cam copy I couldn't even watch it. So I'm waiting.
There is no spoon. Exactly, Rosemary.
There is no spoon. There is no spoon.
But you were saying something that got me to say what I just said, and there was more to it. Prison doors are open. There was more to that.
The story from your friend that was extremely long about the Anunnaki?
Oh. Yeah, I can't remember enough of the details of that.
Yeah. I read it, but the same thing, I can't remember enough to actually be able to.
Okay. Re-singing stars, everything has a vibratory frequency, tone, color. Everything is singing to commune with or merge with anything. One only needs to know that song. Relates to time, travel, and manifestation. Shamanically speaking, that is what we do. The song as light is similar to photons, open and receive in information communication. Yeah, agree. And the theme, I'll say theme because I don't know what else to call it, of tones playing a part has been a big thing for me and Dee since 2013.
Yeah, big part.
I think the original construct tech is coming back online. And the original construct tech was designed to work with us. It's a feedback loop. We tell it what we want. It helps us manifest it, blah, blah, blah. We are in an incredibly creative, I think we've got control back and we just don't know it yet. And I'd love to encourage everyone to start playing with manifestation again. Just telling the construct, telling the system what you want and see how you...
Well, you know what? I'm doing it right now. And you guys can all laugh at me. You can all laugh if you want. But we got the news early last week that there was a massive storm coming our way. Arctic fucking storm coming from Russia. And it was going to be horrific weather. It was going to be hail. There was even a very strong chance of snow. And there hasn't been snow in Malta in like 40 years. So, no, 40 years. That was hail that they had 2 years ago. And all my kids were all like, ooh, snow, yay, that'll be so much fun. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is the first year that there hasn't been a drought in Malta. This is the prime, winter is the prime growing season for the farmers. This will be the first year that there hasn't been a drought in 3 years. They've had incredible, beautiful rain. We've had, everything is green, everything is lush. And I said, if there is snow or a hailstorm right now, it will kill all the crops. Everything, all the orange trees are just putting out their fruit right now. Everything will get killed by the frost. And I was like, I do not consent and I like putting this big, huge, energetic bubble over Malta, being like, no snow, no hail, no nothing. And so far, well, it's been cold, as you can tell. I'm all bundled up. We've had no snow. We've had no hail, no frost, no even major, like even the big windstorm was not as strong as they said it would be. And South Italy, which really is just like over there, that much snow. So I could just say, that's my manifestation right now, is I'm manifesting that there will be no snow in this area. It will protect all the crops, protect all the fruit trees. No, not happening. Not happening on my watch. So if anyone else wants to join on me, big bubble, nothing's going to land on Malta. That's it.
Sorry, I've just been reading through the chat. You guys are awesome.
I know, it's everyone's going off.
Yeah, be careful what be careful what you feel and what you put your attention on, because I honestly think you're going to get it right now more than ever before, because I think we're back in charge. And oh, come on, I'm trying to find you. Can you
Got
find
it.
Get it?
I got it. My Zoom worked this time. Well, I said I did. What the hell? Hello? Okay, apparently I didn't. What the hell? I'm trying, Grace. I really am trying. It's not working for me.
No, it's not working for me either. I mean, I've got it, and I'm.
Sean, just so you know, your video is on.
Oh, am I still the host? Yes.
Yours should be the host.
Yeah, got it.
Last I checked.
Oh.
Yeah, you're host.
Okay.
Yeah, well, listen, I've been playing a little game on that one as well. I've been playing my own, you know me, I play my little logical deduction games. And I've been kind of playing a little game on that whole setting your intent and letting it go instantaneously, to do with things like, I had a toothache the other day, and it was like, no, not happening. Do not consent is not happening. And an hour and a half later, it was gone. And same thing when, you know, me and the headaches that I get, especially if I'm doing a lot of reading like today, and then just putting my hands on my head and being like, nope, not doing this headache. Nope, bye-bye. So I've been working on that quite a bit for the last couple of days. And so far, I've had quite a bit of good luck. I've just been like, no, I don't consent to this. I can move on.
Oh, okay. There was something I was going to say earlier when we were doing Antarctica. The other thing that's coming in from people who can see, remote view, all that sort of stuff, is the intense negotiations that are going. Where's mine?
Quinlan, you didn't hug Lisa, and she's very upset at you now.
Mom, night, Lisa.
She's sending you a kiss. She couldn't quite make it. There's only 12 minutes left of the show, but she just couldn't quite make it. She's got to go to bed.
Intense negotiations going on down there. And if they've lost control of the tech, this thing is closing out, this construct is closing out no matter what they do. They need us. If we are the creators, and all they can do is play with what we create, then they need us to create an exit or a reset or whatever, all right? So how much of all of this distraction is just that? I think they're screwed and they know they're screwed.
Say that again?
I think they're screwed and they know they're screwed.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
No, I do not believe they are. I think they're trying to, I think that's partly, and a big part of what CERN's all about, is an attempt to recreate. And I think that they've realised that everything they do just makes it worse. Okay, Lemon's having some awesome dreams. Everyone's DNA was repaired, a rip opened, and I could see billions of people leaving through it.
Nice.
Okay, I want an update on all your dreams lately. And I'm sorry, there's people, I'm not dismissing dreams.
No.
At all.
No, when they come in these waves like this, right? You know, like you kind of we'll have like maybe 2 weeks where no one really says anything about dreams. Then all of a sudden there'll be like and in 2 days you'll have like 10, 15 people going, oh, I had this dream last night. And no, I'm sorry. Interesting though, like I said to you this morning, like the zap outs, when I said to you, it's been about the last 3 or 4 days. And when I got off the call with you, Quinlan goes to me, really, Mom, it's been at least a week. You've been doing that. And the dreams, the same thing, where for a week I've been dreaming like crazy and the dreams are disappearing in the dream. As I'm dreaming it, I'll notice something in the dream and go, oh, that was really interesting, and it's gone. Even though I'm still dreaming. Boom. It's like auto erase.
I mean, I'm well known for saying that I don't nap. I'm not a napper.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do the nana nap, the power nap. I just can't do it. Can't sleep during the day. Unless there's one of two things. I'm so sick I'm bedridden and I'm just sleeping. Or I literally get pulled out.
Yeah.
And I got pulled out yesterday for about 20 minutes. And it happened so fast that I went from wide awake to into that sweet spot where you're not quite awake, not quite asleep, and I was hearing voices just to out, like just straight there.
Like the off switch hits. Click.
Yep. You're going down.
Yep. And that's been, for me, that's been the last week.
And no
The
memory.
exception of today, and I think I was too busy researching today. But every day this last week, I've gone and laid down within just a few kind of deep breaths. Like you kind of do, I do like kind of the deep kind of cleansing breaths to kind of quiet everything. Within just a few breaths, I'm in that instantly in that hover space, and then it's just click, and I'm gone. And I've only been gone 15, 20 minutes each time. And then it's like click, and I'm back again. And it's literally like blackout. Like there's nothing there.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Eyes open again. What was that?
People's animals acting nuts. Like running around the house, dogs and cats who are either like barking at nothing or acting terrified or hiding under the bed or being really, won't leave your side.
Groot was a complete pain in the ass yesterday and all day today. Like he was just all over me. And there's nothing like having a 45-kilo dog think he's a lap dog and try and climb onto your lap.
Oh, this is a cool dream. I had a dream where I was in my local organic cafe and I went to order something and the lady said, sorry, that option is not available anymore. I said, okay, what is available? She said this and handed me a pad and paper. She said, your choice, you create. So I sat down and started drawing overlapping circles, every variation outline filled in spaces you can imagine. Radial designs that got more and more complicated like mini mandalas. The lady said, there, you have it. You can create whatever you want, but the other option is no longer available.
Nice.
Lemon's cats have been talking up a storm. And Tracy's dog started wigging out just as I said that.
I was trying to talk to Lisa earlier today, and Groot decided he had to be on my lap. And every time Lisa said anything to him, he just was like, "Who is that? Who is that?" And he got his face like right into my computer because he was like, "What's going on? Who's talking to me? Who's talking to me?"
All right, so everyone's homework. Check out 88. Check out the number 88, 8s and 88s.
Your homework assignment for today.
Your mission, if you choose to accept it. And not in the go down this rabbit hole kind of energy, but just like spin out about it because it's really cool and see what little nuggets you find because it relates to time, timelines, time travel, time looping.
Well, like I said, it is the Mobius strip, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. We might have to publish this chat as well because...
Yeah. We'll make sure. Hold on. I'm going to save the chat right now before. I mean, it always saves it, but I'll just make sure I save the chat. Why is it not doing? Why is my thing not saving the chat? Huh. Well, it always saves it for me anyways, and if I don't have it, I'll grab it from you and I'll throw it into a PDF and
if you guys have experiences, dreams, visions, or whatever over the last little bit that is relevant to anything that's been said today, please share. If you're on Facebook...
Oh, Lee, see what I'll do? I'll insert your video, but the Talking Stars and the 88, I'll insert it with the article. So
okay.
People will be able to go to it right there, and they don't have to wait around for me to load it and all the rest of it. That's perfect. I didn't even think of that.
Okay.
Apparently my brain
here's another thing that keeps coming up for people.
Oh, gosh, 2 minutes before the end of the show. Go for it, Lisa. Change the subject.
No, it's not a change of subject. It's not. In terms of an aspect that is, again, a theme. So going back to 2014, I kept referring to this, what some people call higher self or whatever, as Big Lisa, right? Because it actually, that's what it felt like. It felt like the greater part of me, and I was communicating very easily, and the intense period. Now there are many other people who also would say the same thing in terms of this feeling of this other aspect of themselves. The experiences that have been shared with me feel and sound like we are actually now integrating this aspect of ourselves, finally, merging with it. I've just noticed we've got 3 people with their hand up.
Oh, shit. My Zoom is not working. I can't fucking see anything properly at the moment. I don't know why.
Okay.
Usually I see that stuff. I'm
going to unmute Earl. Earl, you've got about a minute. Okay, so I'll unmute you.
You know,
you're there. You're unmuted.
Yeah. You know when you were talking about your belly hurting and you went to outside of a construct.
Yep.
That happened to me the other night, and it was like, like felt like my stomach was gonna go just blow up, and not the best pain I've ever had.
So can you explain what else was going on at the time?
Oh, I was sleeping. Well, trying to sleep anyway. And I remember seeing these people's faces, and they were like trying to help me. And one guy put his hand down where my man junk is. I'm like, whoa, what the heck are you doing there? it was weird, man. It just, I've never had an experience where it, like something was physically linked, you know, where it's so like you're in two places at the same time. But when I was taking a bath, then the thought came to me that The Matrix is wrong, the movie The Matrix, because it would be kind of dangerous to put the thing in the back of your head. Where then I thought about the umbilical cord and belly button, and that's where you would actually put there because there's like a connecting tissue, like probably there, and there's actually a new organ that they found in the stomach region. I forget the name of it, but
Yeah, well, apparently they've always known it was there, but they thought it was just a membrane, and now they've decided it's an organ.
A membrane?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Earl.
yep.
Although the back of the head thing, the back of the neck, right there, where they've got it in the Matrix movie, I've seen it energetically. That's a amazing spot.
So have I.
Connections energetically. Okay.
Yep.
You're unmuted, love.
Was that Gina?
Yep.
Is it Gina? Okay.
Hi, Gina.
Hi. I just wanted to pass on an experience I had last night. I was real tired all weekend, and I actually did sleep well and deep when I was sleeping. But last night there were three of us on a call, and one of the people was going through some distress, and I knew at the time I was absorbing the distress, but not absorbing it as in bringing it into myself and integrating it into myself, but kind of holding it.
Yep.
And then after we got finished, I felt like I just got slammed, and my internet went out completely in a way it's never gone out before. And I laid down and started feeling feverish. Within an hour, I had a temperature of 101.5 out of nowhere. Okay, there was no buildup, just felt really sick. And that chills feeling and a huge headache. And what it felt like was that this energy that I took in and grabbed, I was burning it up and then released it. And after that, I feel great now. I have no lasting effects. To go, I don't get temperatures very often, so to go for a relatively high temperature for me,
Yep.
and then just to have it gone, it was definitely something different than just fighting off a virus or something. It was something energetic.
Yeah.
It felt that way very much. So
That's actually really, really interesting. When I lived in Thailand, I had a friend of mine who was a Buddhist nun. And the first time she met me, she said to me, "Oh, you're an empath, but you have to be careful because you take on too much." Like I was taking it, but not putting, like I was taking it and holding it. I wasn't allowing it to go through.
yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit here and there. And then about 4 months later, my best friend, her boyfriend was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I was there for the whole funeral. The funeral was 5 days long. With him, because his family flew up from the south of Thailand, where he was from. So you're sitting in, and if you've ever been to a traditional Thai Buddhist funeral, it's really quite amazing. Like as far as the energy of it and how it plays out. It's not like North American funerals at all. But by the end of it, I'd been sitting with all the family, and they're all working through their own grief. They're all meditating. They're all working through their grief, etc. And at the last day of it, we get to the point where they basically, after the cremation, where they go out on boats and they spread the ashes on the water. And when we got off the boat, I got hit, same thing, instantaneously. I was violently ill. Like, I felt horrific. I had a headache and I got a fever, and I don't get fevers.
Right.
And my temperature just spiked right up, and it was only lasted for a sleep. Like, I literally went home and went to bed, stayed in bed for that whole afternoon and slept through the night. Next day, perfectly fine. And I ran into this nun. And I told her about this experience, and she was like, oh, she says, and that's what had happened. She said, you took on so much and you weren't releasing it. Then all of a sudden you do have to release it, and your body has to, like, basically burn through it. And she says, that was your fever. Your fever came up because your body was like, okay, now I'm forcing you to release it. You're holding it. I'm going to force you to release it. You don't have a choice. And released it. And then she taught me some exercises about basically letting it drain out. And she like meditative exercises to let it drain out through my feet into the ground, and earthing, kind of like just drain it out, get rid of it out. So you are a conduit to help people deal with the emotions and deal with their stress and what they're going through, that you can help them by taking it off of them, but then not holding it, to immediately let it pass through. And I never had it happen again after that.
You know, anger is also another way of burning it off.
Yeah.
And whether you just pull up all of that energy and scream it into a pillow, whatever you do, but just stomp your feet, jump up and down, get angry, whatever, and just,
release it.
Release it. But anger is another good way of burning it off. Thank you, Gina, though. That's super cool, by the way. We've got Nick. Nick, you're unmuted.
Hey, can you hear me?
Barely.
Can you hear me now?
Better.
A little better, yep.
Sorry, my phone sucks. I had something I wanted to share, and I feel like it would fit in pretty well here. It goes back to what you were saying, Dee, about intent and setting your intent, and also relates to being an empath as well. And also something we went into like a few weeks ago, talking about a friend of yours who was just getting attacked, just worked over by like a team of people, and just feeling like, you take 2 steps forward and then you get slammed with 10 steps back, and you're like, how did this happen? And I've been like, when you were talking right at that point, like I started crying. I was like, how is this me that they're talking about? It's like, and obviously it wasn't, but I felt it. And just to know that feeling is out there was a big thing, because what I've kind of, I've felt that way for a long, long time. And even, being an UnFucker and being aware, sometimes, we're all capable of slipping here and there, and we all have our character flaws. But I feel like it's one of those things that, like, where we can set our intent to shield us. And like, I've been really trying to do this and like play with and experiment with it to see how well it really works, because it's more like you can set an intent and then let it go, and then that acts as like a gentle push, like a momentum. And whereas your will is like a constant push, like forcing wind rather than a gentle nudge of a breeze. And I felt like I wanted to share that, if anyone else is feeling like that in the room, or, who listens to this later, like, it is a big thing to like realize, especially in this thread and at the level we're all at, that we can accept the fact that something is messing with us, you know, like, and rather than get down on ourselves, like for not doing this or that thing where I had really meant to talk to that person or do this for that person or not do this to myself, that we can really, you know, like accept that, hey, you know, it might not just be me, there might be an outside force here, and to kind of accept that as what it is, to be, you know, an empowering thing, to be like, hey, like this thing needs my energy to feed it, and all I got to do is stop feeding it and it'll die, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I
think,
don't know if you've seen it, but there's one of these chats that I did. I'm just going to bring up the name of it for you. And because it was all about thought forms. And I think we've been given the idea, actually I don't remember which one it was. Okay, so if you go to my website, there's one called What's Next? What could possibly top the Mandela effect? And then there's like 4 others. Oh, hang on.
Lisa and Donna and
the other blonde lady, I forget her name.
who was with you on that?
You got me back now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think it was might be.
No, it's Jenny, with Jenny.
Yeah, I think that one was what could top the Mandela effect, right? And we talked about thought forms. And there's been just far too many people's experiences, including my own, that tells me that none of this stuff can hurt you unless you let it. Okay?
Right.
We've been fed, literally hand-fed, spoon-fed demons and greys and reptiles and all of these other nefarious things that can come and get you and fuck with you.
Yep.
And
boogeymen.
All these boogeymen's under the bed. And I honestly do not believe they can unless we allow them. And we allow them through fear. We allow them through just by thinking maybe they can. It's enough. It's a door. And
that's it. Like,
so just know they can't. And I honestly think a lot of them are simply thought forms that have been fed to the point of becoming life forms. But you don't give them any energy and they can't touch you. Laugh at them.
Yeah.
Basically.
Bow-covered prezzies of love. Do whatever works, but just don't do fear.
You basically deride them at every possible chance you can. You'd be like, sure. You know, you basically have to turn them into a 5-year-old. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's funny because this has spurred a lot of research lately for me about specifically, demons, like, and like what really is the demon, you know, like, and it goes, actually, I've always been into like paranormal and ghost research and stuff like that. And I follow a couple of people, and one of the people I follow, you know, he's done probably the closest research into like what are we really talking to, you know, when we talk to the ghost box and stuff like that. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, and I'm not really a religious guy, but the tack that he takes and the results that he gets and conclusions that he makes really kind of point to like being, you know, like there are any level of spirits and they could be friendly or evil, but generally considering like they're all the same type of entity, you know. And but the bigger thing about that is that it goes to the abyss. The abyss is the place where they are. That's where they are. So like when he talks to them, like anytime you start a conversation through the ghost box, you're essentially like, it's like walking through a room and like, you know, being, you know, loud in a room full of sleeping people. You know, they're going to wake up, and, you know, the more you talk, the more people are going to wake up and come to you. And like when you are done talking to them, essentially, and communicating, you know, you kind of have to let them know, hey, it's time to go back to the abyss now. Go back. And like when we started like the whole flat earth thing, like when I kind of ran across that and these dots started connecting, I was like, wow, okay, something really crazy is going on. So like just to it's just kind of a raw descriptor of the energy that's happening. So thank you for that.
Well, the other interesting correlation is when Lulu first came out, that a lot of people felt like they were under attack and they associated it with Lulu specifically, like she's coming to get me. I actually think it was a response to Lulu. To people who were beginning to open up to broadening their perception and their energy field and their power and all of that stuff got sent in.
Right on, yeah.
And it didn't hang around for long, to be honest,
No.
because no one really bought into it. Well, there was a couple. So there's a couple who bought into it, but for the most part.
Well,
and anyway, so that's all I wanted to say on it.
yeah, I would say the same. Definitely agree. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything you guys do.
Okay, we've got Rosemary. Rosemary, you're unmuted?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good, it works. No, I had the dream that when you were talking about the Nazis, and I was reading all the Maria Orsic books that I had around, it was around the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And I had this one dream that I was in World War II times. I was wearing a khaki uniform. I was some type of secretary or something, and I was leaning against one of those green trucks with the tarps over them. And I was smoking a cigarette with an officer, just on a break. And all of a sudden, we looked to the left, and there was a clear blue sky. And we see these planes, and you heard the motors, the rotors or whatever rotating, and it was blazingly loud. And so you couldn't help but look over to the sky and see what it was. And it was really weird looking because it looked not like a Zeppelin. It looked like a big plane, but it looked like it had a satellite sticking out of it that looked like an RCA type of satellite. And then in the front of it, it had a weird face. Like that choo-choo train in the cartoon that has a smiley face, that creepy choo-choo train. I don't know what it's called. It's on Netflix now, Thomas the Engine or some fucker.
Yeah, Thomas
that thing freaked me the fuck out. This thing, it was they dropped this little drone or satellite down on the floor, where me and my dude were smoking our cigarette, and they dropped it down, and it was this little face looking at me like the choo-choo train saying, and it had a robot voice and said, "It's okay, you still have time to run." And I was like, fuck! All of a sudden, my guy grabs me by the, I'm shitting you not, I'm shit, my hands are sweating right now like adrenaline. He grabs me by the hand, he starts running in front of me, and pulling me with him. So I'm running, all of a sudden I feel like my feet are in the air, all of a sudden, like gravity doesn't exist anymore, and my hand and him are lower to the ground than my feet are. Maybe the bomb is behind me and I'm already partly in the part of the blow up phase. And it's exploding, and I see everything and all of a sudden it's I'm in a transporter beam, and I woke up in a cold sweat. And it was I was walking around in a daze that whole day. I told my sister the dream, I told my mom the dream, and they were oh, pretty cool. And I was also reading those Ascended Master books that were talking about the inner earth and the Thule Society and the Madame Blavatsky and the what the fuckery and the connection to the Lucis publishing company. Anyway, all these things were meshing around in my head, and I didn't know, did I make this crap up? But it was so visceral. It was so, I was there. I remembered everything. I didn't see myself, so I was in the first person. I was in that body. So I don't know what the fuck I looked like. I could have been a guy for all I know. I don't know if I had a badge or not. But I felt like I was wearing a skirt. I felt like there was a skirt involved, and I had a little hat, and it was a khaki uniform. So I don't know if I was Army, Navy, Air Force, or what. But these guys showed up, and it was a satellite, and it was wild. And I felt it. I didn't feel any pain when the blow up happened. It was just like you just became champagne bubbles. And that the champagne bubble feeling is going to come into that other dream that I was going to write to you, Lisa, but I don't know if I should even share that now or not, since, I don't know, do we have time?
Yeah, it's up to you.
But that's all that was in that dream. It was like I was.
We've already got over 20 minutes.
Huh?
I said,
We've already gone over 20 minutes. What does it matter now?
All right, yeah, what the fuck? Okay. So this was in Easter of 2015 now, around that time. And we had just moved in August of 2014 to Washington State, to Olympia. I don't know why I picked Olympia, but now that I look at the map of the San Juan de Fuca and the Puget Sound, if you turn it over, it kind of looks like a spinal cord and the falx cerebrum that ends up in the pituitary gland, the ethmoid bone, being Olympia, where I ended up. And that turns out to be like the 122 degree, I don't know, latitude or longitude that they do in travelers, which is set. They send them to the 122 degree and the 56 degree, and I'm at the 44, 122, 44 something or other. So I'm like a few degrees off of that location. And then the Sense8 people, the Christmas special, more like synchronicity. I'm going on a tangent, but I had to mention this. The Christmas special, remember when the dude goes to the to get into his building and he's talking to the guard and he's like, no, whatever, we can't let you in, blah, 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 and he tries to kick the door in or something and he falls. What's his name? Lito, the actor, the Mexican guy.
Yep.
Anyway, he bumps into the door and the timestamp of the camera is 4/20, the date, April 20th. This is after their birthday. 4/19, I'm assuming, is their birthday. My birthday is 4/19, 1972. But anyway, that just freaked me out. I'm feeling like I'm in the Truman Show all of a sudden watching these shows. But anyway, so back to Easter of 2015. I'm dreaming like normally, and I'm thinking I'm gonna, you get to the phase where it's like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, you wake up. Well, I wake up, but I'm not awake in my room. I'm awake in a black void. Like I'm like this body floating in a black void. I'm just like hanging there. I feel like my whole body, but I'm in a black void. And all of a sudden, like far, far away, I see this little yellow speck. And then the speck starts getting bigger and bigger, and the speck turns into the shape of a body, like a silhouette of a body. And the silhouette of a body inside of it, it looks like a blazing sun inside of the silhouette. And I'm freaking the fuck out. I'm thinking, I'm dead. This is it. This is my life fucking review. Light as a feather, heart, whatever. I'm like, oh! And since I was reading those Ascended Master books, I'm thinking, they said something about if you ever feel like you're in danger of being attacked spiritually or whatever, you say, I'm the light of God that never fails. And you just repeat that, like saying, there's no place like home, there's no place like home kind of deal. Yeah. I kept on repeating that, and I was just like frozen, like the Vitruvian Man, but with my arms facing down to the floor, towards my feet. There is no floor. It was like this black void. Anyway, so this person, or this silhouette, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what it is. It's my maker, and he's coming closer to me as it gets bigger. It's like there's floating like those people in that movie, The Dark City, how they just float, really gliding towards you. It was like that kind of feeling, like slow but fast. I don't know how to say it. It was like time was standing still, but it was still moving. Anyway, the closer it got, can you close the door, please? Thanks. That was my mom. Anyway, she just woke up from her nap. So the silhouette starts shooting these sparks of electricity out of it, and I'm thinking Flash, Speed Force, because I'm watching all those shows, right? And all I heard, all of a sudden, I'm surrounded, not with no sound. Now there is humongous sound, and it sounds like a Tesla coil. But like in my ear, in my body, in my cells, and I'm like, this is it. I really am dying. So I keep on saying, I'm let out. In my head, I'm saying, I'm the light of God that never fails. Oh, my whole mantra was that. It was like an unconscious thing. I don't know how it came out, but it kept coming at me. So I figured, okay, if I'm saying this, and it's still coming at me, I guess I'm okay. I must be safe, but I'm still taking a shit. So the closer it gets to me, my eyes are like I'm sun gazing into this blazing sun, and I'm squinting, and my eyes are kind of rolling back in my head, almost like REM sleep, like you can't control it, but I'm trying to open my eyes. So they could be open, but they could be closed, and I'm seeing through my eyelids because it's so bright. I don't know. My hands are still in that position, and this being, a solar light body, I can only call it something like that, touches hand to hand, like fingertip to fingertip, and it felt like feather light. Like the touch was like I was touching feathers, like or powder, You know, it was very gentle. It was so I was okay. I'm still taking a shit though, and I'm still saying the whole mantra. I'm the light of God that never fails. The whole Tesla coil thing is still brah. I mean, it's just like I couldn't even say it. By the time that we're touching fingertip to fingertip, I'm engulfed. So I can imagine yourself being in the center of the fucking sun. But the sun isn't hot. The sun isn't burning you, and what's touching you, which is another part I'm going to describe the minute it touched my fingertips. It felt like I was having these champagne bubbles coming into my fingertips and filling every single cell. It felt like everything was champagne bubbles, and like every cell or atom was having an orgasm, and it was going from the feet, the extremities, all the way into the heart center. And as the heart, it was like the heart was filling up. It was filling up the tank and filling it up to the point where I was like, fuck, I'm going to explode. And then by the point where I thought I was going to explode, that's when I kind of woke up. And the whole time I'm in this sun, in this blazing sun. I can barely open my eyes, and it's just, I'm just surrounded in it, and it didn't feel like fire. It just felt like warm, like a warm bath and champagne bubbles inside. And then I woke up, cold sweat, like in humans, like when they boot them up and they boot me back up from being Anita, and she's like, like that. I woke up in bed, and I go to the mirror. I go to look outside, and if the sun is out, it's a cloudy day, I guess. And I look in the mirror, and my right eye, I've had a lot of brain injuries. I mean, I'm not even going to list them all. But there's been a lot of stuff going on with the right eye, and I used to get a lot of infections and throat infections, whatever. But the point being that when the eyes being a thing, and that what the girl yesterday in the 88 video was talking about, the eyes and having like this germicidal effect, it pushed something out of my brain. It cleaned something out, because I woke up and I had like shingles out of my eye, like on my whole eyelid. Not in my eye, but my whole like upper and lower eyelid, like if I had like a raccoon mask. And it was this huge red rash, and it was so painful, and I had to go to the medical marijuana market that day. So I guess that was a Saturday night into a Sunday night. And I went anyway and looked like shit. And I'm like, yeah, I got fucking shingles. I'm going to need meds. So I got my RSO and my bag of weed, and I left. And I said, oh, sorry, I can't work on anybody today. And from then on, I couldn't lay my hands on anybody to do a craniosacral session, to do anything. It was like, that's it. You're done. Everything that's happening now, you're cleaning house and getting your shit together if you want to get out with everybody else.
So you haven't worked, you haven't healed.
Huh?
Did you say you worked with healing people? Is that what you did?
Yeah, since in 2004, I went to massage school and stuff, and then I do a CEU education and did craniosacral therapy, and it was right after I had gotten an injury from breaking up with my boyfriend in January of 2005. He almost killed me, and he left me whiplash, but it was to the point where I was seeing two realities, and I was like, either I'm going to die or I'm going to live, and something rose up, and I screamed and said, get off me, get out of my house, and never come back. And he somehow magically did. I mean, he could have just snapped my neck in the position that it was. And anyway, I survived that, or I went to the timeline where I survived that. And I was introduced to craniosacral therapy. And when I had my first session on the 4th day of our seminar, the guy that was working on me, and he had his hands on my, like by my clavicles and one behind my neck, you know, around like C7. And my neck started turning to the right in the same position of how I had the injury with the ex. And I started reliving the experience like I was there. And I just started kind of releasing it, forgiving myself for being in that situation with an asshole, and grudgingly forgiving him. But I was just like crying it out, and at the same time as the observer freaking out, like, wow, my body is doing this, and I have no control over the position of my body. It was like that positional tissue release thing. And before this was a month after the injury. I had tried everything. I had tried Reiki, which I was like Reiki master, blah, 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 you know, all that stuff, you know, so I was pissed off that my shit didn't work. And I had tried acupuncture, chiropractic, everything. Nothing worked. This put me into this PTSD mode, and the guy was very respectful. He was just like, I had already worked on him, and he was just very quiet, and he just let me cry it out. And the teacher, Tad Wanveer, he's like, yeah, afterwards, he's like, yeah, you might want to do some follow-up on this. So it's called like a somato-emotional release, where the tissue memory that stays embedded in your cells comes out, like your whole body is a hologram. So your memories aren't just in your brain, they're in every single cell of your body. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot of this from just this craniosacral therapy. And I was always interested in the brain anyway.
Did you say you weren't able to do it anymore after this experience though?
Yeah, I was always, the whole like martyr, like all my clients would always call me, and even if I was feeling like shit, I would go and do this, and I would always work on them like an extra hour, never got paid for it, that kind of stuff. And then it always kind of left like this inner resentment, like, fuck, they don't appreciate it, but in a way I was sucking in all their tightness because I would feel like shit by the time I got home. And my reikifying myself didn't work either to get rid of all that karma. Basically, it's like doing their work for them, basically, because it's like those stories, I guess, of Jesus. The people can go to the same schools I did, but they come for me for the fucking healing, for the magic or whatever. But everybody can do it. It's everybody, and not that I'm saying that he was a real or whatever, but the allegory, as it were. So that whole Jesus complex was an embedded program that I had inside somewhere. And I was, that whole martyrdom is a big theme in my family. But anyway, I was basically taken off rotation. Like I couldn't physically move. I couldn't do anything. I was sick. I couldn't make an excuse and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And in Washington, I couldn't get my license as a massage therapist to have a license to touch. Anyway, I didn't even have the energy to do it anymore. So then that started after that whole Jingles eye effect. That's when I started seeing all the Mandela effect. I'm thinking, wait a minute. My first Mandela effect was actually 2001 when I first started going out with Brian, I actually dreamt about the 9/11 plane. I was seeing the blue sky and I didn't see a plane, but I heard a plane come, like the noise of a plane crashing and people screaming, but there was no plane in my visual field. So that was like the big thing. There is no plane. There is no plane. There is no plane. And then all of a sudden our roommate August is knocking on the door. Hey, Brian, Rosie, look, the towers are going down. It's on TV. Fuck, wake up. And we had just flown back from Chicago the day before. So we like missed it by a day. So there's been a lot of like crazy dreams. And the first Mandela effect was then in 2001. I noticed Tostinos. It should have been Tostinos and it was Totinos. And that was my first little glitch when I was doing, and I'm thinking I'm doing too many drugs and drinking too much. And that was my excuse and I wrote it off. But it all came together after this in 2015. And then everything, you guys, and little by little putting things together. It's been a Mad Hatter ride, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
So when this girl started talking about the sun and the singing, I haven't experienced that, but I have seen like the lights of the shimmery lights between the stars. Like they don't look like stars; they look like something else. But the only thing that I experienced physically was that engulfed in the sun, whatever that was. I keep calling it like maybe it's my solar light body. Maybe everybody has this experience at one point, and we might remember it, we might not. But, we might all feel it to some extent and have that. I don't know.
Well, thank you,
It was definitely a nervous system detoxification or germicidal effect, like the blue, the blue light that you put your toothbrush under to clean the shit.
Ultrasonic cleansing.
Right? Oh, my God. It's like, whether you want to or not, that's it. They're putting their foot down and it's time to clean house. And I've just been here like, fuck, I wish I could go out and do something. And I've become like the freaking hermit.
Well, thanks, Donna, for coming out.
Thanks to you guys. I have a link to the outside world. So, yeah, I'm going to shut up now.
We've got one more to go, and we're going to have to keep it short. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we've got John Jensen. John.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Just two short things. A couple weeks back, both of you were talking with Ben, and Ben made what I heard as a significant statement, very short. He said that trust has been broken, and that immediately kind of set me off on a sort of a domino effect, and all kinds of shit going on in my head, and I even wrote a paper about it, blah, 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 blah. But I thought that was very significant, and I kept looking for someone to notice it. I didn't see it, so I figured I'd just raise it as being something of significance. The second thing, these changes we're going through, the tumultuous uproar, the ups and the downs, the all arounds, the swirling effect, both into the toilet and coming back out or whatever. The one thing that I notice is it seems very familiar, like we're in familiar terrain. In other words, the landmarks, like you're heading home, and all of a sudden you're starting seeing stuff that you remember seeing. Oh yeah, I remember that, and it's becoming more and more familiar. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it. It's becoming more and more familiar. Like we're remembering. It's not that we're remembering that we are able and capable of doing these things. It's just that they have been turned off or negated or whatever for so long. All my life I've kept expecting to just be able to mentally project and have a course of action happen. It's just, right. You're thinking blah, 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 blah. Only not so much anymore.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
I equated it a little while ago, I can't remember exactly when, but with like a horse. When you go horse riding and you point the horse in the direction of home and it just knows it's heading in that direction and it's off. And that's kind of where I feel like we are right now. We've been pointed in the right direction and we're just making a run for it. There's a difference between the familiarity that there is now and, say, deja vu. To me, this doesn't feel like we've been here, done this before, because it still has this feeling or quality of we're in new territory. However, it's like you say, we know the landmarks that lead us to the path back home. So there's that stuff that's familiar, but it's not a well-worn path that we've trod before. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it than I did. I agree completely. The other not shift or phase is the means of locomotion. In other words, that we're moving, how we're moving, why we're moving, and the way, the manner, how it unfolds, blah, 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 seems a mystery of sorts. In other words, we're just sort of going along with the flow. It's like the Navajo saying, throw yourself in the middle of the stream, go with the flow, celebrate, enjoy who's there with you, and just, don't try to hang on to stuff. Don't try to analyze it. Just stay with the flow where it's going to lead you. It knows where it's going. But the thing is that we are so close that as I said, the landmarks or it's not so much, and I agree, it's not so much that we've been here before, but we've kind of done this before, and that's what's familiar, is that the means to the end seem more and more built in, not added on.
Okay, here's another thing. When we first started talking about the layers coming down, and it was like we're going back through everything in reverse. So we've been in this territory before, but we haven't played it this way before. We've played it out. We played it out this way, and now we're playing it out this way. So the surroundings are familiar, the landmarks are familiar.
The landmarks are there.
But we're playing.
We've seen those landmarks before.
Yep.
It's becoming more and more familiar.
Yep.
And that, to me, says we're going home.
Me too.
And the nifty thing is we don't have to actually go anywhere. We're going to find ourselves there, even if we allow it, if we're searching for it, the intent and all that sort of stuff has to be in place. But the point is that's where we're going to wind up. And that you were talking earlier about the water. What if the water is merely an energetic membrane, kind of like what you saw in the Stargate? In other words, it looks like water, it behaves like water, you walk through it, and now you're somewhere else.
Yep, I think it's, like I said earlier, I think it's both physical and energetic. And it's not that we have to go anywhere physically and walk physically, get through physical water. It's energetic. It's this membrane.
Yeah, because if anyone tells me I got to go to Antarctica or the Arctic Circle, fuck that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it seems kind of pointless because it's going to come to us.
Exactly. This is individual inside job, and it's on its way to us.
And through us as well.
Yep.
That's what's becoming more and more familiar. Is it's coming through me, and I'm seeing it as not a process, but a natural state of being. In other words, just being alive, just doing what we do, being who we are. And as we focus our awareness on those aspects that are, pop up and we want to pay attention to and, are cool, all that kind of stuff, as we focus our awareness on it, those things become, this is maybe not the best way of putting it, but more real. There's more there. That's part of the familiarity.
Can you see my smile? I'm very, very happy right now.
I'm hoping that a bunch of other folks see it this way, because it's not the doom and gloom, but the degree of crap we're all buried in is distracting, put it mildly. But the thing is, if you flip it over and you pay attention to the cool shit as opposed to the crap shit, and focus on that. Pay attention to the fun. Pay attention to the stuff that makes you smile, and you get that wry grin on your face, and you go, "Oh yeah, yeah." That's where it gets cool.
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks, you guys. We got a new puppy, and I haven't been able to be on for the past couple of weeks. And fortunately, he's over here sleeping, so he's not yipping and yapping. But I've caught the other stuff and appreciate what you guys are doing, and mind-boggling, thought-provoking, blah, 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 yada, yada. Don't stop. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. All right. Okay, well, we've gone 40 minutes over, so.
Yeah, I'm dying. I'm fading fast. It's 1:45 in the morning, and I'm like, uh-oh. I feel a shade of pumpkin coming over me.
All right, I will see LMH members tomorrow for CI. And you and I will see everybody next week. And thank you.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
That's right. And like I said, if you've got anything relative to what we've been talking about today, send it through. Either in the UU room, on Facebook as a message, in LMH members, email, whatever you can do. So, thank you. And bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.